crimes that you're being charged with, and then that the state actually has to call witnesses. We cannot just rely upon, and it's got to be witnesses that are credible, truthful, reliable,
And you
and
have the right to cross-examine.
and you have the right to cross-examine them. Now, one of the things that's different, which ties into the Sixth Amendment, as well as we go into the Eighth Amendment or the Seventh Amendment, Eighth Amendment, and 14th Amendment, which all deal with different due process and things like that. But the main thing about the Sixth Amendment is that in other countries, especially over in Europe, it's not that you have the right, you're presumed innocent. That in the United States, you start with the presumption of innocence. That's basically part of the Sixth Amendment. You're presumed innocent until the point where the government proves you guilty after trial, fair and public trial with witnesses and things like that. In other countries, it's the exact opposite. You have to prove your own innocence, that you're presumed guilty, and that you have to prove your own innocence to a certain standard before the government then comes back to prove that you're guilty. So you have to carry forward the burden of proof to a certain level to show at least somewhat of your innocence. Years ago, the big case that came up was that case in Italy when you had the one woman who killed her roommate and was brought to trial 3 different times, and that was at the standard. She had to show that she was innocent before the government then had to come forward again and show that that she was guilty of these crimes. But in the United States, it's completely different.
So, like Lou said, we talk about the history and the context of this. There used to be, before the revolution, these star chambers, and the government would have a very heavy hand dragging people out of their homes. This is what you're doing. We're charging you with this. You didn't have the right to know what you were charged with when you were being apprehended and confined. You didn't have the right to confront the people who were making the accusations against you.
Right.
People just say, he did this, and then that was it. You didn't get to cross-examine them. You didn't get to try to tell the judge they're full of crap or whatever it is. And you did not have the right to your own representation. You were out there by yourself. The Crown had all the resources and the prosecutors to do what they needed to do. The Sixth Amendment was very, very revolutionary for the world, stemming from our revolution. It ensures a speedy trial. It ensures that you have the right to know the charges that are against you, to confront the witnesses and people who accuse you of this, and this. You have the right to obtain witnesses, meaning you can subpoena people to come into court, and you had the right to trial. Huge.
Right. And that people think that, the right to trial, that's something that's been around for a long period of time. And it's really not. Where it was before, for the longest time, that it was just simply felony charges, that anything that was misdemeanor or below, which means that, and the difference is felony is anything that's more than 1 year incarceration as a possibility. Misdemeanors are anything 1 year or less. And that some states have played around with the definitions and things like that, but that's the main differentiation. For the longest time, if you were charged with a misdemeanor offense, you were not entitled to a trial by jury. It was by judge only, and it wasn't until the Supreme Court made other rulings to say no, that you are entitled to a jury even for misdemeanor offenses, and for the representation. Everyone's like, well, what do you mean that you didn't have right to an attorney? That it was Gideon versus Wainwright. And that's another one pulling it out.
Wow.
That said that you actually have the right to an attorney on these criminal cases, and that if you can't afford one, that the government has to appoint one for you, that they can't force you to represent yourself. Essentially, somebody that's, and I would always explain it to our pro se defendants when they're like, oh, I want to represent myself. I'm like, okay, listen. Not for
That was after Lou started laughing, like,
and I'd be like, okay, listen, that is your complete right. You have your total right to do that if you choose. And I cannot prevent somebody from doing that. But just so you understand, I've been doing this for however many years. I was trained in trained in law school and trained in how to file motions and how to argue things in court and what the standard of proof is and everything else. And it was actually my obligation as a prosecutor to explain to them